Canadians are rarely aware of the Crown's presence. The Governor-General represents the British monarch as our head of state. The office of the Governor-General is the highest and the oldest public office in Canada. The Governor-General outranks all individuals except the monarch. It is largely a social and ceremonial role. It is the Governor-General who summons Parliament to begin a session and reads the speech from the throne. The Governor-General endorses all bills that are to become law, presides over the swearing-in of the Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers, and receives foreign diplomats. The Governor-General honors Canadians for outstanding achievements, including bravery. A Governor-General is expected to provide moral leadership. The Governor-General is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The majority of Canadian Governors-General have never faced a constitutional crisis. One of the Governor-General's most important responsibilities is to ensure that Canada always has a Prime Minister and a government in place, one that has the confidence of the House of Commons. It is a foundational role of Westminster democracy that no Prime Minister can continue in office once he or she loses the confidence of a majority of the elected MPs. Most of the time, a Governor-General takes the advice of the Prime Minister. But in a time of great political deadlock, the Vice-Regal can act independently without the approval of another branch of government. A Governor-General has the power to dismiss the Prime Minister. This is one of the reserve powers the Governor-General can exercise. But these constitutional conventions are not written down. It's typically Canadian that this exercise of reserve power is vague, uncertain, and to some degree debatable, wrote Canada's previous Governor-General, Adrienne Clarkson. On this occasion, the Governor-General opted not to exercise this power. The position of Governor-General has arguably inched past the requisite motions of ribbon cutting and rubber stamping, wrote Craig Offman of the National Post. It's the ugly side of Jean's job. The Governor-General is not elected. She is appointed by the Queen on the personal recommendation of the Canadian Prime Minister. There is no public input. That selection process has become a source of public cynicism. Many ask whether the appointment process should be more transparent. In 1947, virtually all the roles and responsibilities of the Crown were transferred from the monarch to the Governor-General to carry out, without having to refer matters to the Queen. The Governor-General can call on whomever she wishes for advice, from constitutional experts to veteran political observers. The decision to suspend Parliament was behind closed doors. Canadians do not know who she received advice from, but we do know she did seek outside advice. Some legal scholars are critical of the secret process that led to the Governor-General's decision to prorogue Parliament. Michael Jean agreed to Harper's request without explaining why. To some, this lack of transparency is simply not acceptable. Some have questioned the Governor-General's decision to suspend Parliament. Others agree with her. In all her decisions, the Governor-General must be nonpartisan. She has to play an institutional role for the public interest of the whole country. She is the final arbiter. And only time will tell what other decisions she will have to make.